All right, good morning. I told you I'd be back, and here I am. We're going to get the Amazon stream going here. And today we're going to play with a couple of things that I plan on reviewing. I haven't decided if these will be extras channel stuff or not, but we'll figure it out when we get there. But this morning we are looking at the My Passport SSD. We're going to take it out of the box and benchmark it. And then they sent this, by the way, free of charge to the channel. And then the other thing we're going to look at today is the iExpand flash drive. Now this is a flash drive that has a USB-C and a Lightning port on it, so you can use it to transfer stuff back and forth with your iPhone. So that is what we're doing this morning. And I'm going to wait a minute or two here to get some people in. And then we're going to have the review of the framework laptop probably up tonight. So America's here, Recipe Bob is here, the Shield Profit channel is here. Thanks for the good luck. Adam Louse is here. Good morning to you. So yeah, so we're going to have a little fun with this. NC Strev is here from Maine. So yep, so we're going to look at this one and this one. So this is, I don't think either of these are new, but it's, I always like to get these things in because they do well. People like, external hard drives, and I don't even know what the pricing is on this. So this is $120 for a terabyte SSD, and I don't expect this to be all that fast because this is kind of their lower end product. And then this one costs, what does this one cost? This one costs $80 for 256. And, run-of-the-mill flash drive, but it works with your iPhone. And it can do automatic photo backup with an app. And I think I covered that app on the Android platform, but I might look at it again. So we got some other folks popping in here. So Nigel Roberts is here from London Heathrow. And we got Nate Long here, ahoy to you. Sam Personal wants to know what best capture card to record with no PC and B control. The best one I would say is the ATEM Mini. Doesn't need a computer. It outputs HDMI, so you can do that. If you get the ATEM Mini Pro, it will stream for you automatically as well. So that might be worth looking at. And I'm just going to get my Android phone charged up here because I don't think I've charged this up in a while. And the other thing is I think I'm getting in the new Pixel phone, which I'm going to go check my mailbox after I'm done with what we're doing here this morning. But I can't talk about it because there's an embargo, but I can tell you that I have it, or will have it. BB Garnett is here. Nighthawk is here. I just told you, it was, the price on this one is $120 for a terabyte SSD. And if you click on the link, it'll take you right to Amazon. So you can watch this there, and all the links are there. Stu Parker is here. Robert is here. Nick says the My Passport SSD is 104 pounds and 98 pence. Is that right in the UK? Yeah, I think the link, if you click on it, it takes you over to it takes you to the US Amazons. I don't think they're doing streaming over there just yet. So we're going to open this one up first and see what's in the box. And while I do this, I'm going to put some notes into my system here. Oops. WD My Passport SSD and in the box. I just want to make sure I get the in the box accurate here. So here is the hard drive. Frank says, I'm becoming an early bird. I am an early bird these days. You know why? Because I am behind on my, I have so much stuff to look at. I am so far behind. And Frank bought a Pixel 4a and is loving it. Great. That's a good phone. It is a good phone. So here's the drive. I think it feels like plastic. It looks like metal, but it's plastic. There's not much to it. There's just a USB Type-C port on this. And we've got our manuals. By the way, this comes with a 5-year warranty. So not bad for kind of the entry level. Now my only gripe here is that it's got the USB-C to A adapter, and you got to make sure you get these arrows aligned, because if you don't, you're out of spec. So it doesn't let you flip it around. Like it won't fully engage, but it doesn't mean that if you took this adapter and plugged it into a different cable that it would not do that, right? So you got to be really careful with this, because the USB spec, as I understand it, does not allow for one of these connections, or it does allow for it, but it's not part of the spec. So you got to really make sure you get this lined up the right way. Otherwise, bad things can happen. So USB-C with USB-C to A adapter. So the bottom line is, though, that this will work in a PC with a larger USB-A port and also on USB Type-C. So there you go. All right, so now what I want to do is hook up some stuff here, but I do want to say hello to some people first. So let's get a few more hellos in. We have Mohammed Najim. I got to get this right here. Let's see if I think I've pronounced your name correctly in the past. So let's see if I can still do it. Mohammed Najimi Mode Amir. And it's been a while. Good to see you. Yeah, I've been busy. I didn't stream it all last week, so that's partly why you are all seeing me fresh this week. Nate Long says it could be good for the Pi. Yes, this would work with the Raspberry Pi. It's a standard USB hard drive, so anything that's going to support a USB hard drive will support this. Raghav wants to know, what SSD would I suggest for long-term storage of photos and videos? I am of the opinion that I like the WD and the Sandisks the most. My advice, though, is to have it stored on multiple drives, because you can never rely on a single source to store your data securely. So what I do is I store my photos locally, of course, on the computer, but I also have iCloud backing up for my photos. I'm primarily an Apple Photos person because I'm in that ecosystem. So that's why I look at that. And Nate, yeah, so this is perfect for like the Raspberry Pi. I use the older version of this on I have the Passport Go. I use that on my Mister. So these are great for those kinds of things because they're not that expensive. They're solid state, very easy to work with. There are some Raspberry Pi cases that you can incorporate a less expensive SATA SSD also if you wanted to go that route. The warranty does not include data recovery. It's just for the unit itself. That's what I mean. You got to back these things up, and it's harder too because the bigger the device, the more problems you run into. So my brother just passed 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's awesome. Vishal is here. It is going well this morning. Aziz is here from Iraq. I love you. Thank you for joining us this morning. Yep, and that's true. Most laptops don't offer the SATA port, and you don't need an NVMe to store the old games. Yeah, these work great for game storage too. And I just closed hit the wrong button on my thing. I just closed out my. We're going to switch the graphic way it looks. Jassy is here. Hello. Yeah, so I use these for my Mister and other things too. Prescott wants to know, am I getting the new MacBook Pro? Yes, I am. In fact, I ordered the new one. I got so I buy a MacBook Pro every 5 years or so. So this was about time. And it was funny, I was talking on Twitter. I posted the one that I got. I got the one with the Max, the MacBook Pro Max, or the Mac M1 Max. So I just bought the highest end one. I got a 14-inch though. So it's got 32 gigs of RAM, the M1 Max. And now I'm shifting all my computers around. So the MacBook Air, the M1 here, I've been using this now for a year. As you can tell, it's been heavily used. This is my everything computer. I cannot tell you how great it's been. So I bought this one thinking it was going to just be like my supplementary travel computer, and it's more powerful than the MacBook Pro I was using from 5 years ago. So I just this morning, as a matter of fact, Jake picked up my old MacBook Pro that I bought back in 2016, and he's using that for editing because, get this one, we were using the 2012 MacBook Pro Retina. That was the one that Jake was using to help me edit. And that was my MacBook that I've owned for the last 9.5 years. And yesterday, they updated Final Cut Pro. And now Final Cut Pro only works on a version of OS X that I cannot install on that MacBook. So even though it's still a usable machine, we can't install Final Cut Pro. It updated it on my M1 here automatically. And then when I sent him a project to work on, it wouldn't let him open it. So now I had to speed that up. So what I'm doing is I'm going to part with the 2012 MacBook Pro. The keyboard is kind of dead on it, but it's still worth like $200. I couldn't believe it. I've extracted more value out of that computer than I can imagine. So I have some sentimental value behind it because it was like the first computer that I ran the channel on. But yeah, that's what's gonna replace it. So we'll see where it goes. Brandon Wallace wants my thoughts on the notch. So I have no thoughts on it yet, but I will have thoughts when I get the computer in hand. And my understanding is like it's going to be kind of in the middle of the menu bar. So we'll see how it goes. I don't have too much stuff here on the side. And generally, like my notch will be kind of like right here. So I think for the most part, I should be fine with it. But I'll give you my opinion when I start playing with it. And Windows 11 doesn't support old laptops. Yeah, I think Windows 10 is going to be around for a lot longer than perhaps prior versions. And Eric is at the Waffle House. I love the Waffle House. That's the one thing I'm trying to go to this NASA thing that might be coming up. And I hope to, because the hotel that I stay at has a Waffle House on the property. And I love the Waffle House. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here, is we're going to run a speed test with the Blackmagic disk speed test. So I'm going to load that up here real quick. And hard drive reviews are pretty low-key affairs on this channel because we just look at like kind of two things. There's not much to this. You know, it's a hard drive. You plug it in and you're good to go. It does have AES hardware encryption. You can use this as a backup drive. A lot of people use these for that. And it's good for that purpose because most people are not backing up a terabyte if you've got like Time Machine installed on your Mac or whatever. So they're good for that kind of thing. All right, so we're going to start the test. I have my screen here, so we'll jump to this when we get going. Let me just make one adjustment here. I'm just going to scale it a little bit so that I'm going to take some B-roll for the hard drive. There we go. And let me just set up my record folder here. All right, bear with me, folks. We're going to kick this off in just a second. Okay. All right, so we're going to hit the thing here to select our target drive, my passport. And whoa, that's actually better than I thought it was going to be. Look at that. Really? Wow. Let's see how it does on the return trip. That write speed doesn't seem right to me. Usually these drives do not write faster than they read, so I'm thinking there's some caching going on. Let me start recording here. That's pretty crazy. This is the first drive I've seen that writes faster than it reads. But we're not done with it yet, because after this, we're going to pop it in my PC in the other side of the room, and we're going to run the Crystal Disk Mark test on it. This is so unusual. I have never seen a drive that writes faster than it reads. And it's staying pretty consistent around 800 megabytes per second or so. This is a surprise. I was not expecting this kind of write performance out of it. Oh, what's going on there? Ooh, that's weird. There it goes. I wonder if there's some weird caching that it must have maybe it's got like a big cache on it. Because that write's been pretty consistent there. Yeah, it's holding pretty steady around 680 or so. Very odd. But that's consistent. Let it run for a little bit longer here. And it's got some weird read hits there. I almost wonder if this might work better as a backup drive than as a media drive for that purpose. But generally, it's hovering in like the 800 write, 680 read territory, give or take, 690. All right, interesting, huh? So we're going to run the crystal disk mark test on it next, and we'll see how that holds up. I'm just going to put some notes into my thing here. So I keep little cheat sheets. So Blackmagic, we had 800 megabyte write, 680-ish read. I almost wonder if they tuned this, because they kind of call this a backup drive. You know, it's kind of their fast backup drive is their marketing on this. Fast backup drive. So that's rather interesting. I just want to see if there's anything installed on the drive. So let's take a look at that real quick. Yeah, so they've got they have like an app you can install with it. I don't like to install the apps because I like to use what I want to use. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this drive and we are going to plug it in to my PC on the other side of the room. So let me go do that real quick, and let's see how it performs on the crystal disk mark test. And I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to walk back over and show you what I'm going to do here. So bear with me. Now I'm plugging this into a computer that Lenovo let us borrow for a little bit, and I'm plugging the drive into its Thunderbolt port. This is a Lenovo P50 workstation, and I still have it because they also sent over this VR thing that's pretty neat. Oh, here, all right, so let me pull up this screen here. So I'm going to pull this screen up, and I'm going to start the crystal disk mark test on it. I just didn't have, I probably could have had this over there. I don't know why I'm on the other side of the room, but whatever. Let's see, disk mark 64, and we're going to select drive D, which I think is our passport drive is D. And this test is not as fun to watch, but it will give us a good indicator here. So you have to kind of let it run. So we'll just keep an eye on it and see what we get. So the reads are faster so far on this test. It's kind of weird. Usually you see some consistency between the two, or at least like within the ballpark, but this is weird. So I might run the Blackmagic test on that laptop also and see what we get. But this is definitely better performing than I thought it was going to be. So what they're saying, so you know what's funny about these numbers? So they often give these really weird numbers on here. So what they'll say is it transfers up to 1,050 megabytes per second. But oftentimes they're combining the two speeds together, which technically I guess is true if you can you can read and write to it. Like the aggregate is kind of true, right? But it's weird. The read speed is better on this as it's filling in. What's also of note is that the random reads so far are looking pretty good on this too. Shiv is wondering, is there, do they offer a password protection? Yes, you have to install the software, but they do have hardware encryption. The problem, though, is that you have to, like, the drive has to be plugged into something that can support the encryption software. So, for example, on an iPad, it likely will not allow you to unlock the drive. We should play with that a little bit, too. And while it's running here, we'll take a look and see what the requirement is for that. So Frank Cromer says, his old Mac Pro died the other day, and I used it for most of my audio work. The Mackie mixer is a FireWire other than a... Yes, so Frank, there is a Thunderbolt 2, and I did a video on transferring DV video over the other day. There is a Thunderbolt 2 to FireWire adapter. So you buy that, and then you get the Thunderbolt 2 to Thunderbolt 3 adapter, and now you've got the ability to bring your Thunderbolt or your FireWire devices over to Thunderbolt. And I did a video on transferring DV video, and I demoed that exact setup. So check out that video. That'll help you there. Alex Guy misses the Waffle House, it sounds like. I miss it. I love visiting the Waffle House. It's just the whole ambiance is just awesome. Good morning, Norman. Vishal agrees that it's kind of unusual about that. Shiv does not like external drives because most of them don't offer password protection. Yeah, this one does, but I think you need the software to run on it. There's the drives that I really like are the ones that have the ability to decrypt the drive without extra hardware. So one of my favorites is the if I have it over here, the Samsung T5, T7, T9, whatever it is. No, it's not the T. I think it's the T, not the T. Here, I got it over here. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, this one, the Samsung T7. And what I like about this one, if you really care about password protection, what's nice about this one is that it has a fingerprint reader integrated into it, and this works without software. So when you plug it into your iPad, you can unlock it with your finger, and it just works. On this one, if you encrypt it, you're not able to get that to work. All right, so let's take a look here. So Nick92 posted up a flash drive on the Amazon page and says that this one is super fast. Ooh, it is. Yeah, ooh, I should try to get one of those in. That does look pretty fast for a flash drive. All right, so here are the results on the Crystal Disk Mark test. So now we've got to figure out why our Blackmagic test on the Mac was not delivering similar results. And what I'm going to do real quick is just update my hard drive speed spreadsheet so that we have these results and can compare it with others. And if you want to follow along, you can go to Lon.TV/benchmarks and check that out. So let me go and find my Crystal Disk Mark test here. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to type in these numbers here. So this is my passport. So this is performing better than I thought it would. So reads 984. Writes are 1008.3. That is really good, like really good. Our first random read and write, also very good. This drive is surprisingly good for its price. Even like on the single threaded test there, it's really good. I am very surprised by this in a good way. That is a very good score. All right, so we got 2 more things to check out. Let me go grab, I'm going to go over to that PC. I'm going to put that Blackmagic test on it. And let's see how it does with the Blackmagic test on this device. And I can't remember if it has, oops. Let's see if Blackmagic is in the store. I don't think it is in the App Store yet, so I'll grab it off my other hard drive here. And we're going to run that Blackmagic disk speed test on here too. And bear with me for 1 second. We'll get it set up. But I am quite impressed with the outcome of that Crystal Disk Mark test. And of course, I wasn't recording the B-roll when I did it, so we will have to come back to that in a minute. All right, let me check out the, and yeah, so and if you're on the spreadsheet that I have on screen here, it is in the new Crystal Disk Mark. I'll reset the view. It is in the new Crystal Disk Mark tab here, so you can get a feel for how this compares. And I'll highlight it now so you can see how it stacks up. So on this test at least, you know, this is like in the ballpark of some of the Sandisk Extreme Pro drives. And in some areas, it actually performs a little better than those do. That's a really surprising result. Yeah, and we've looked at a bunch of these recently. The T7, which is the one I just showed you, that one is kind of close there. But look at those. Yeah, it's right up there. And it's funny because, you know, WD bought Sandisk, so a lot of these drives have the same components. They just, you know, look a little different. But the internals are often very similar. All right, so it looks like that copied over. And let me just start the test here. Yeah, it's actually working better on the PC. So we'll capture some B-roll here. Yeah, so this is much more indicative of what I was expecting, kind of more of a, look at that. This is a very good drive. And I think it's something to do with the MacBook's USB capabilities. The M1s are really, really funky with this stuff. And I'm using the other port to output video, so that might be why it was a little impeded here. But this seems to be a much better view of that test. So that's solid performance out of kind of, I don't want to say it's budget, but the Passport drives have generally been the more consumer-oriented devices. This one just feels a lot better. But I suppose we should also check out the encryption and password protection, because I know that was important to a viewer. And if we're going to do a comprehensive review, we should almost certainly look at that. Okay, so we've got that logged in. Let me go grab that computer and bring it over here so we can see how the other stuff works on it. Actually, you know what I'm going to do, just to keep it simple? You know what, now I'm going to bring the whole computer over. And the reason is we want to be able to see. You know what, let's just look at it this way. So we're going to go I'm going to pull up the screen. I'll just operate it from over there. I have all this stuff hooked up to it, so it's going to be hard to move it back over. But I'm going to pull the screen up here, and I'm going to show you what the software looks like when we install it. So let's do that real quick. And I'm going to reset the view. So bear with me, folks. We're going to reset that view. And we're going to load up that software that comes on the drive. And we're going to see what that looks like. So we're going to go over to the D drive here. And we're going to install the Discovery software for Windows. And this is something I'm never usually comfortable doing because these things like just sit resident in your computer. You know, you'll see it kind of, really? Installation failed, you're experiencing issues? Really? Seriously? Let's try it again. All right, I'm going to say share the info this time, and let's see what happens. Oh, isn't that crazy? It wouldn't let me install the software unless I had agreed to their sharing. But like a lot of times, this is like just too much software than what you need. But we'll install this here and see what this is all about. Whatever it is, it feels like it's a lot of stuff it's pulling in. So we'll let that finish copying. And then the other thing we'll look at is how it works with iPhones, because we have my iPhone here that I can plug it into. Let's take a few more questions here. William Wilkinson is here. Hello. And Nighthawk is here. And should really, yeah, you know, I think for a lot of people those passwords are important. So that's what I want to install on here and see if it can do the password here. It's like stuck on this software installation, so I don't know what's going on with that. But I'm curious if we need to install all this software just to get the encryption working. So that's what we're going to check out next. And we'll see where it goes. But yeah, in case you missed it, I'll pull up the video here of what we just shot. And so this was the speed test that we were running on it a few minutes ago. So that's pretty impressive. You know, it's almost a gigabyte per second in both directions. So this is up there with a lot of the other, you know, more professional offerings. Now, some of the other drives that they offer support the 2x2 standard, and so those will give you potentially faster speeds, but only if your computer supports it, and most don't. So for the most part, like, you're not getting anything by buying the Pro with the 2x2. So that was really impressive speeds there. And we're still waiting on the software to finish installing on this one, so we'll let that go. I think as that one installs, what I will do is open up the other one here. And this is the iExpand Flash Drive Lux with a package that is hard to get into. And this is designed to work with the iPhone. And by the way, both of these came in free of charge from WD. But they are not paying for this review, or whatever it is we're doing. And here you go. So this is what it looks like. So you have your lightning connector, and then you can flip it around, and the cap here will work on both sides. It actually stays on when you flip it. That's kind of neat. So you got USB-C, and you got lightning, so you can pick and choose your poison. Wonder if you can do both. You probably can't do both at the same time. I'm sure it overrides one over with the other. And what I can do with this, here, let's plug it into the iPhone real quick here. Let me just put on my Do Not Disturb. So if I plug this in, it should just show up as a Oh, so now it wants me to go to the App Store. I'm going to ignore that for a minute. It should show up as a destination. Let me take a look and see. So we have it plugged in here on the side. More locations. I thought generally that these things should show up as a, let's try it again. So I always like to avoid installing software if I can. But it doesn't appear as though it's got a nice feel to it. It's all metal. Yeah, so I've seen these things just kind of show up in on your location screen here. Let me back out of the software here and try it again. So the Files app. I guess we're going to have to give in and install the software. So the iExpand software. And by the way, we're still waiting for the software to install on the PC over there. It's still going. What is going on over there? All right, so we have to look for the iExpand app. And let's see if that gives us access to it. Because I'm fairly certain that you can just, at least on the iPad, you can plug in an external hard drive. Here, let's get my iPad out real quick. So I think on this, let me type in my password here. Because the iPads now are running with the USB Type-C ports. So if I go to Files, and what I'm going to do here is flip this around. And we're going to just insert. So I've now got the USB Type-C because this does not have a Lightning port. So I'm going to plug that in. Yeah, it's not showing up on this one either. So I guess, yeah, oh, there it is. So on here, see that? It shows up as untitled. And then we've got some pre-installed stuff on it. So this is playing off of this right now. I probably should stop this. I'm sure that there's a copyright with that music. So this is playing off of here. But you saw, like on USB-C, when you plug it in, it just pops up. On the iPhone, it didn't seem to do that. So let's try that again and see if it coaxes it back to. Can I eject this? How do I get this thing out? All right, I'm just going to pop it out. All right, so if I flip it around now, so now I've flipped it. And we're going to go over to Files. Now you saw before that showed up as untitled. And let's give it a second and see if it does anything. Nothing. So it looks like we have to install on the phone, we need the iExpand app. So I'm going to grab that real quick and let's see if that makes it any different here. And this is like one of the issues with the Lightning port is that it doesn't work. Like I was really hoping this new phone would have USB-C and just be done with it. Because having the USB-C on the iPad is so flexible. And I've had it on my iPad Pro forever now. And Kevin's got a good point here. Yeah, so this is why I think, and it was another point made as well. That's why I think if the hardware encryption, the password protection, if that is important to you, my advice is to get this drive, the Samsung T7, and I'm going to add it to the product carousel because I think that makes a lot of sense. Let me pull that up real quick for you. because you don't need software. So when you plug, I reviewed this a few months ago, maybe last year even. When you, let me just add this real quick and I'll show you what it does. I don't have it set up currently, but you can watch my review of it. Yeah, because it got expensive, didn't it? I think they're just low on stock. So what's nice about this is that you do have to have the software initially to set it up, but when you set it up one time, this becomes software agnostic. So when you plug this into something that supports a hard drive, it can be a Raspberry Pi, it can be an iPad, you put your finger down on it and it unlocks. So you don't need the software after the first time you configure everything. And for me, that's a really big deal to have that capability. And so to Kevin's point, and to a point made earlier, having, I think, a hardware-based decryption is going to protect you over the long term. Because you're right, I mean, you could get 20 years out in the future, and if that software to unlock the drive doesn't work on Windows 27, you're done, you know? And I've got old floppy disks from my Apple II days that still work great today, you know? Like, so you don't want to, you know, you're going to be scrambling to get the data off. So I think having something where the encryption is hardware-based, in other words, attached to the hardware, means that you don't have to worry about software obsolescence because it's all baked into the firmware on the hard drive. So like again, on this one, push the fingerprint, unlock. You got to make sure your fingerprint is still valid a couple of years. You may want to do some maintenance on that over time. But all right, so now I just added the iExpand app, and now it shows up. So you see iExpand Drive. So it's actually interesting, a very different behavior. What's it doing now? Hang on, let's see. You know, I am not digging this. All right, so let's try to move something over to it. Because it's not integrated the way it is on the iPad. So if you plug it into the iPad, it shows up like a regular drive. On Lightning, it doesn't work that way. I guess that's just the Lightning thing. This is like the Apple closed ecosystem at work, right? All right, so Nick says I got to run my updates on that. That's probably why it's not working. All right, so we'll reboot that, go reboot that computer, and then we'll see how the encryption works on the other drive. All right, we'll do our update and restart. Okay, so while that's updating, why don't we take a look at maybe moving a video file over to it. So I've got a video of my dog here. She needs to get, we got to get her brushed. She's like shedding all over the place. She loves to play. She's a very playful animal. So I'm going to hit the share button here, and let me see what my options are. Do I have an option? Let's see, edit actions here. Just trying to see where my destinations are. Okay, so I do have an option to send it to iExpand. So let's try that real quick and see. So it's preparing it. And now it's connecting. And I can, oh, so I can save it on the root. So let's try that. Okay, so it saved it. All right, so now, see, that's not so ideal, right? So now if I pull it out and then I flip it over and I pop it into the bottom of the iPad here, now it's in the iPad, and let's wait for it to pop up here. Okay, so now it's, so this is what's funny about this. On the iPad, it just shows right up. It's just like another disk. And now I can load up that file and play it back. No? You know, I bet you the, that's weird. I bet you it's, you know what it is? I bet you the, it's one of those HDR cinematic videos. Do I need to update my iPad? Let me see if the iPad is up to date. This is the brand new iPad. It should be. Up-to-date software update. Oh, there's an update. Okay. You can't win with these darn updates. All right, so let's plug it into the Mac and see if I can play it back on the Mac. Let's try that. So I'll pop it into my Mac here. Oh, it didn't copy. It's just like a 0K, like it came with 0 bytes. Did not copy. All right, let me try to repeat that again and see what the heck happened. Why is it so difficult to get files copied from the iPhone? And this is like a big deal because, you know, if you're shooting video with ProRes, you have to agree to a licensing agreement. All right. Jeez. You really pushed the automatic backup. All right, hang on a second. So right now it's going through this setup process. Yeah, so I covered this before, the iExpand app. But I want to copy it my way, so that's what I'm trying to figure out here. So if I go here, it looks like the computer is still updating over there. So I'm going to go over to, yeah, they don't make this easy. So iExpand Drive. So I think they want you to do it inside of their app as opposed to the other way around. And now it's telling me the drive isn't found? That's weird. I think, yeah, you think you have to use their app for everything. Yeah, so it's weird because it integrates well with on the USB side, but apparently when you're on the Lightning side, you got to be running this iExpand app. So let's pull it up separate here. All right, so now I'm going to delete this. You got like you have two things on here. So you have the iPhone. If I go to video here, but this goes back like this was from when my daughter was first learning to ride her bike. This is a long time ago. So how do I get to like my more recent stuff? Oh, I can go to descending. Okay. Sort by date added. Okay, so now I've got more recent stuff. And some of it can't play because it's like HDR or something, because like one of these is, all right, so let's take this one, the one that I wanted to copy. Okay, I don't know what I'm agreeing to. All right, so that's the video. So I'm going to hit this, error preparing file. Some of this was in HDR, so that could be. It's all error preparing file. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I'm kind of disappointed because what I was expecting was that I could plug this in and just have it work like a... I think this is going to be really confusing to people. I can't just copy the file over. It just tells me... I'm going to let it sit here and like chew on it for a minute. Maybe that's what we have to do. Gladys is bringing up the yesterday stream. That was a trip yesterday, wasn't it? That was a lot of fun. I'm still trying to figure out how to copy files over. All right, so here's a picture, okay? Now, my thought would be if I want to copy this picture to the drive, I'm going to hit this icon here, and it says error preparing. Like, it's not letting me copy anything. Let's try another one. Yeah, error preparing file. Just useless. So I wonder if the app needs to get an update to work with my phone. I don't know. Error preparing file. Yeah, it just won't copy anything. All right. So whenever we stream something, nothing ever works. Yeah, so it looks like it requires, I think it's probably a better stick than it is because it just doesn't work. Like it does, maybe it's the iPhone, the new iPhone, maybe it doesn't have, it needs to get updated. So I can, okay, so here's the other thing it can do. So maybe this is what we have to look at here. So there is an option here to copy photos from iPhone and copy files from, so it only copies photos, is that what it does? I guess it's probably all it does, right? Copy photos from iPhone. All right, so now it's loading up my photos again. So this is like a different interface than what I was looking at before. Yeah, and Gladys makes a good, I think Gladys is onto it here. I think yeah, it just works better on the iPad. And now it's like, and I have like a million photos from 10 years, so it's just kind of sitting on a thing here. So we'll let it sit there and chew on it for a minute. Yeah, I think they want you to use their app. And my first inclination is to use the share sheet, right? Because that's my preferred way to do it. All right, so now my photos have come in. The good news is that it is ordering them. Okay, so I'm going to copy the video that we were trying to do before the dog. So I'm going to hit copy to iExpand Drive. I'm going to put it here. Okay, so now it looks like it just copied one file, and then it's asking me to delete no, I'm not deleting it. Do not delete. That's dangerous. Okay, so now that's done copying. So let's flip this over, and let's pull it up on the iPad here and see if it works. Oh, my iPad updated to 15.2, so I got to log in with my password again. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I guess this is going to be useful for somebody, but it just feels like there's a lot of bureaucracy. And it's not their fault. It's probably how these things work, but what a pain. It works a lot better on the iPad. Okay, so now, wait a minute. So now there's two? They copied two over. There's one like shorter one, and there's a longer one. So this one is called the video. Did it break it up? So it's 18 seconds. And then this one, wait, it cut it in half? There's like two 18-second videos? How long is the big one? All right, so now I got to go back and see how big the original file was. So give me a second on this. So let's go and look at, so this is what it's plugged into on the iPad here. So why would it like break up a video like that if that's the case? Let's see, photos. All right, so that video, no, it was okay, so it just copied two versions over. It's got one that's called full, and the other one, so one is like 10 megabytes bigger than the other one. So I'd have to look at the bit rate to see. Maybe it makes like a lower quality version. But I don't know why it would copy the same file over twice. I got to dig into this one a little bit. Yeah, so I've got that one file is copied over two times. So it starts, this one starts with the dog on the walkway, right? And then this one, yeah, it's the same thing. It looks like one is a little more compressed than the other one, so maybe it copies over like a smaller version of it. Well, this is a good question. Do I have a Lightning to USB adapter? I don't, but I do have the Lightning to regular USB adapter. That is a good question. So if we plug this in, and now we've got our adapter, right? I'm asking for trouble here. Let's see. So now we're going to plug this in. Here, let me show you what I'm doing here. So we've got the USB with the adapter, and then we're going to plug this into this. So now we've got this thing, and then we're going to copy this over to this. And let's see what happens here. Will it show up as a regular drive? Wait for it. Whoa, look at that. That's how you get around it. You do this. There you go. So if you do it this way, it works. Versus flipping it around, that is funny. That's a great tip. And if we go back and just plug it in straight, nothing happens. Like it's going to show up under the iExpand drive. And then it brings the software up. But I would love for it to just show up like it did in the other mode. So it looks like it's like hardwired differently when it's in Lightning mode. Isn't that funny that this works fine? That is crazy. So Greg, yeah, we've been using the Apple File app, and it just doesn't seem to like it in Lightning mode. Kevin makes a good point, though. It does, yeah, I think if you're using it for the backup features, like less as a flash drive and more as a backup device, I could see that being kind of the value proposition. Because if I go into the iExpand, I gotta find it on my phone here. Because it does have, and it works like this on Android also. I can just do like a backup and just back it all up to it. I think I've got more than I can store on here, though. This is a 128 gigabyte. Yeah, so let's see, what can I back up? Google Photos backup with iExpand Drive is back. So I can back up the photo library. I can back up my Google Photos. Oh, I see, I can connect to Google Photos, and then it's like a conduit. And then I can do my contacts and calendar. So that's what that's useful for there. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe my expectation is that you plug the thing in. Because the one thing I like about what Apple has done with the Files app is that they have an underlying file structure that you can access. So as you saw on the iPad, this drive through Files just becomes accessible. But it doesn't seem to work the same way when you have the Lightning mode on there. Now let's see if I can, yeah, so, I guess it could work for that purpose. Let's see if I'm missing any comments on the chat here. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to go back to the computer, and let's see if we can figure out that, that issue with the password on the My Passport and see how that gets executed. I must be an outlier because I just see things working differently than the way the companies want you to do it. So let's go to My Passport here, and let's install that software again and see what happens. Yeah, that's installing a lot quicker this time. All right, so we're going to let that install. And I still have the drive connected to that computer, so we can check out what happens there. By the way, just to recap, the My Passport SSD, we still have to test the speed out of that stick too. The My Passport SSD, not the little stick, but the other one, this was what we were getting out of it. Really good performance. So very, very impressive. All right, so now we've got the software installed. And you see, this is like the bloated kind of thing that I'm talking about. Like, I don't like having all this stuff just running on my computer all the time. But here's where you would set the password. Okay, so this is like their universal storage app. Now it says the drive is not connected, although it is. Yes, right here, My Passport. But you see what I mean? Everything just feels, it's not just WD, it's all these like things just always feel clunky. If you have a USB device, maybe it needs to be plugged in fresh here, so let's try that real quick. All right, so I plugged it in. And it's not seeing it. See, this is like the consumer experience. Like, what are you getting here? It just doesn't work. Let's plug it into the other one. All right, let's take a look here. Let's plug it into this port here. So it shows up, but it don't work. So let's plug it into the other port here and see what happens. Different port. Plugged it in, detects it, no USB device connected. All right, so let's quit the software and run it again and see if that has any difference. So we'll do that, and now we'll run WD Discovery again. Get rid of this. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. WD. All right, so we'll load that up again. Not fine. Oh, there it goes. Now it found it. Okay, so now we're going to hit the thing here. We're going to set the password. I'm going to do a really insecure password, just so I don't forget it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm going to set the password. So now it is protected, assuming that it is. Okay, so now I'm going to put just a couple of files on here just to copy them over, just so we have some files on there. And the other thing I'm going to do real quick is just see if there's any impact on the speed of the drive, because we have it now encrypted. So presumably that might impact performance. So let's see. Nope, it's about where it was. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I mean, operationally, it's still pretty close to what it was doing before. So I don't think there's a significant speed impact to that. All right, so now let's pop it out. And now it's got a password on it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to plug the other one in to test the speed of that drive in a second. Okay, so now this drive is encrypted with a password. So presumably, if we plug it back in to our Mac here, do you see how long it takes to review things, by the way? Because there's a lot of stuff to look. Okay, so now we have this software called WD Unlock. Here, I'll pull up the Mac screen here so you can see what I'm looking at. So we have WD Unlock, which we have to run to unlock the drive. And this probably will not work on my iPad now. And it's also taken a while for it to load up here. So presumably, if I plug it into a different Windows computer, this probably would not bounce for as long as it is. But remember, I'm on an M1 Mac, so who knows if this is compatible with it. It's still bouncing. Okay, there we go. All right, so unlock the drive. So it's now unlocked. And now this should, yeah, so now it's accessible, and I've got the files on there. So it works. And it closes out, it looks like, after it runs. So it looks like there's a, there must be, you know, so the way the hardware encryption appears to work is that once it gets the password, it's like, okay, I will unlock for this session, and then when it ejects, it will no longer be accessible. So if I pop it out there, you'll see that that goes away, and I got to get rid of its virtual CD-ROM, and we're good. So that works. All right, so that's that. So we know how that works. Now watch what happens though. If I plug, now remember before when we plugged in a USB drive, it just worked on this thing, right? On the iPad now, because this has a password, I'm not going to be able to use it on the iPad. So we're connected. And we'll probably see that unlock software thing show up as a drive on here, or maybe nothing at all. Yeah, so it's not showing up at all. All right, so now watch this. We're going to take this now, we're going to remove the password protection. It'll then just work. So let's go back to our PC here. And we're going to remove the password this time. So let's pull up our WD app that is running constantly in the background. I'm going to unlock the drive. And then I'm going to turn that password off so the hardware encryption is no longer in use. Gosh, that takes a while, huh? Okay, so there we go. So now we've got it back again. So now what I want to do is go back to here. It's unlocked. Click here to, okay, so we did that. All right, so storage, go to the gear. I want to turn that. Oh, that's, oh, I see, UAS, okay, transfer speed. Okay, so that's why it's running so much better on Windows. Remove password. Okay, so now it's no longer got a password. So if I eject the drive now, we should be able to use it on the iPad. So pop that out. Now the other thing I want to try while I'm here is let's take a look at that Crystal disk, or the Blackmagic disk speed test. And this time we're going to run it on the stick. And let's run that real quick. Now this one's not going to perform like the SSD performed, but I do want to grab some B-roll of it going here. So not very quick. Now you're generally in the, it's almost in like the USB 2.0 kind of speed level here. So I wonder what it is rated at. It is a USB 3 drive, it says. But the write speed, I think the read speeds are a little bit above USB 2. But you know, it's a flash drive, so it's not terribly fast. It's actually kind of slow. But remember, when you're plugged in via Lightning, it's only connecting at USB 2 speeds. All right, so let me just stop that real quick. Okay. So I'm a little more bullish on the My Passport drive, to be honest with you. It feels a little more like something that might have a little more value. Okay, so now we took the password off, and so we're going to connect it to my iPad again. And now it should appear in a second. Yep, there it is. See? So if you have the password enabled on this, it doesn't work on the iPad. With it disabled, it does work. Now, I'm not going to get to this today, but if you had this drive, because you can unlock it with the fingerprint, you can use this on the iPad and still get the encryption. And there's a few other drives like this out there. I've seen some that have a keypad on them and some other ways to unlock them. So you can do all of that. Next thing, Android phone. I happen to have a Pixel 5a right here at your service. So we'll plug it into the Android phone and see how that works. I have no doubt this will mount on the phone. Elliot says, try blowing into the port. That always fixes it. Back in the day. Well, let's wait for my phone to boot up here. So this is the Pixel 5a that I reviewed a little while back. What's my password to get into this thing? I forgot. Oh boy. Nope, not that one. Let's send me this one. So I like the Pixel phones. Yeah, they send me the phones to review every year. And then it's nice to have like an up-to-date Android phone that I can use for these kind of demos, right? So that's why I like using these things. Now they have a file app on here. Where is it? Files, files, files. They usually have a Files app on here. Why don't I see it? I heard it's Files. They changed the icon. All right, so now we're on the Android phone. And all I have to do here is, plug in drive. And this should mount pretty quickly. So it detected something attached to it. Here's the internal storage. Wait, I got a little warning up here. Issue with WD drive, tap to fix. These notifications can't be modified. Let me try that again. It's weird. Usually these things just kind of work when you plug them in. Unless there's some permissions thing that it has to go through. I'm not sure. Let's see. Issue with WD drive, tap to fix. Oh, format this drive. No, I don't want to format it. Oh, you know what? This is formatted with exFAT. So on the Pixel phones, they don't support exFAT. So that's why it's asking me to format it. It does work, but it wants to format it because it doesn't support exFAT. Oh, wait a second. All right, so let me try portable storage. Okay, let's try that. Yeah, it still wants to format it. Yeah, this is an exFAT issue, and this is something kind of unique to the Pixel phones. That's what's going on there. But it does work with Android. Now I got to find another Android phone. Oh, I got one right here. I have phones coming up the wazoo. So I bet you if I plug it into the Samsung phone, it will work. Is the Samsung phone charged, though? Is the question. Probably not. So we'll try that real quick. I keep this one around for two reasons. One is that I can test that DeX functionality, and the other is when something doesn't work with the Pixel phone. And of course, this phone is like probably totally dead. And then I need the port to plug the thing into. So we'll figure it out. All right. Well, there you go. And Android 12 is available. I wonder if they added exFAT support in Android 12. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, so the phone that I have, and I think this is specific to the Google Pixel phones, my understanding is that exFAT is a Microsoft deal. Yes, it is. So if you look on here, exFAT by Microsoft. So if they don't pay the licensing fee to have exFAT work, it doesn't work on your device. So even on like the Synology NAS devices, you have to actually pay for exFAT support for external drives. And I'm guessing that's the case here. Let me look that up real quick. exFAT Pixel phones. Yeah, exFAT, a proprietary Microsoft format, is not natively supported on Google-branded devices. You need to search for a paid app that can mount and read exFAT OTG devices. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so there is an actual exFAT NTFS USB app that will do that. Or I could format the drive for regular FAT32 or whatever. But yeah, so that's how that works. Well, good. Well, I think I've got enough to at least get this review done in a little while. So I'm going to start on this one. I was pretty impressed with the performance on this. I think you all were as well. We saw some really good speeds, both on the Crystal Disk Mark test, but also on the Blackmagic disk speed test. This was doing about almost a gigabyte per second symmetrically. So reads and writes. And you know, it's plastic. It's not as robust as some of the other ones they make, but it's a good performing drive. And not all that expensive. I am less bullish on, where's that, where did it go? On the little, oh, it's in the computer. On that stick thing, not as much, and I think it's more Apple's fault than WD's, that it just doesn't work the way I'd like it to. So that one we might get to that one later. So there you go. But yeah, this is not bad. I think though, and coming back to my point earlier, if you really, you know, if the password encryption stuff is really important to you, I really prefer something that doesn't require software to unlock it. And that's where I think something like the Samsung, where you've got the fingerprint reader. And we actually demoed this in the video that I did on this with the iPad. So I showed how when you do the fingerprint, once you put your fingerprint on there, you can unlock the drive and use it on an iPad. So for the WD here, if you plug it into a computer or device that doesn't support the software to unlock it, you can't unlock it. So that can prevent you from using the drive when you need it. So I think if password protection is important to you, go with the Samsung. The other thing you can do, and the Apple Time Machine is a great example of this for backups, is that it will kind of restrict access to the backup data unless you're logged into your Apple account, right? So there's things you can do with your backup software that would allow the drive to protect you even if you're not encrypting the whole thing. So, because the Time Machine can coexist with other files that you might want to copy to your drive. So, and Shiv says that Samsung phones do support exFAT. And I'll verify that. My phone here is dead. It's only 5%, so we'll let that charge up a little bit, and I'll give it a shot on the Samsung phone. And Jenna is here. Hello. Yeah, so I think I'm where I want to be. So I'm going to probably wrap up the stream. I'm going to go grab some lunch, check my mail, and then I'm going to come back and shoot a review of this drive so we can get that out before it's too late. And then we'll decide if we're going to do something on the other one. I might do a commentary piece on why Lightning is aggravating. That might be what I do, because it's not their fault that that thing has to work the way it does. And then, think about how crazy this is, that we get out the adapter and then it works the way I want it to. That's nuts. So take it for what it's worth. And what if let's try, actually I want to try this with the iPhone before we go. So now what we're going to do with my monstrosity of an adapter here. Now I'm sure there is a USB-C to Lightning adapter. But what we've got now on here is I've got my Lightning to USB adapter. I've got the USB to USB-C adapter, and then I've got the cable here. And then we're going to plug the hard drive in like so. And then we're going to hook it up this way. Let's see what we get. Will it work? Cannot use accessory. Too much power. So that's not going to work. So I think there was a point made earlier that the power consumption is an issue, right? So yeah, Lightning, you know what I mean? This is why I think, I don't know if Apple just wants to just drag this out further, but Lightning is kind of obsolete here, especially when you're on the, I'm going to make a video about this. When you're on the iPad, it's so much better. And it's not like the port takes up more room, I don't know. But I could plug anything I want into this thing, it just works. My phone, forget it. And the phone costs more. What's that about? Maybe that'll be Monday's topic. Because you know what, I was just like, who's the EU for telling Apple what to do? But you know what, maybe they're onto something, because it's, and here's the other problem, is that on the iPhone now you can shoot these ProRes 422 videos, and they're enormous. And how do you get them off? I was excited. I actually bought this phone primarily for one reason. I looked at it was because of the 422 support. But check it out. If I go into, let's go back to here. So if I go to resolution, so I'm at 4K 2160p, right? ProRes 422. I have the 256 gigabyte phone. I can store 15 minutes of video on it. So you can imagine the size of these files that come off of this. And how do you get them off, right? You can copy it over AirDrop maybe. You can hook it up via the Lightning cable and then wait for the USB 2 speeds to catch up. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. So, in any event. Yep. So I am going to go grab some lunch and check my mail, see if I got any goodies coming in. And we'll be back again before you know it. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed our look today at the WD My Passport drive here. And we'll have more to come on this product. So look for this later in the week. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. It was a pleasure, as always. And you know what's great is that you always, so like a great example is like that idea to take the adapter out here and hook it up, right? That's the kind of stuff that really is useful to me. So thank you for helping me out today. And I hope you all have a great morning. And I will probably be back again very soon with another live stream, because every month we do that magazine unboxing thing, and I've got some cool retro stuff to go over with all of you. So we'll take a look at that in the near future. All right, everybody. I will catch you all on the next stream. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.